Good
Oh,
start.
hold on one sec.
I'm not cutting that out.
What's up, everybody? Back here for episode number 2 of the Rally Caps podcast, the college baseball podcast. Today is a super special episode, not only because, it's our second episode, but we have a special guest, Brent Rooker of the Minnesota Twins, played at Mississippi State. We are here today to talk to him. College baseball, of course, joined with Ben Porter as well, the other co-host, along with me, Mark Luino, Giraffe Neck Mark. So much college baseball this weekend, opening weekend. So much to talk about. Of course, though, we got to plug the social media, Twitter, Instagram, Rally Caps Pod. You'll be able to find us there and get all our information and content going up there, as well as we are starting a YouTube channel, Rally Caps YouTube channel. You'll be able to find all the video content going up there as well on a pretty daily, weekly basis, whatever it is. Let's bring everybody else in here. Ben, Brent, how you guys doing?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
No, doing well. Really happy to have Brent here and ask him a couple questions and, see what he's got to say about his time at Mississippi State and, kind of the dominance that he displayed when he was there and kind of what's going on with him now. So really excited for this episode.
Oh, yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And let's just get started off with, Mississippi State baseball, right? It's kind of the hot topic this weekend. They had a great series going up against Long Beach State, a couple ranked opponents going up against each other, home in Starkville. And while Mississippi State came in as the hot team, they did struggle a little bit. They lost the series, ended up losing 2-1 to Long Beach State, but there was a lot of good from both sides to pull from this. And I feel like we got to start off with game 1 and Landon Sims. He made his first start of his career. I believe he was acting as a reliever last year, and he looked pretty dominant outside of one pitch. Couldn't have asked for a better way to start the season on the mound for Landon Sims.
No, Landon looked great. I was down there for the Friday and Saturday game and had to head back home before the Sunday one. So I caught the first 2 games. Landon threw the ball really well. He just he did what he did. He locates fastballs up in the zone that, whether it's spin rate or attack angle or kind of whatever he's got going on makes it really tough for guys to hit. And he's telling them to break the ball off that. I think he punched out, I don't know, it was like 12 or 13 guys, right, in 5 or 6 innings. So he punched out a bunch of guys, just executed a ton of pitches, and he looked really good. I know, coming into the season, he's kind of the guy with the hype. He's kind of the guy that's expected to go out there and do that every weekend. So I know he was happy to get off to that kind of start. The team was happy to have him do it as well.
He's got one of those fastballs that explodes out of his hand. It looks like it's rising a little bit, and guys just, it's one of those pitches where you think you're on it and then it's just by you by the time you swing.
I think it's like a combination of he's a little across body and he's got kind of a lower arm slot. So just like exactly what you said, it just kind of looks like it's going up through the zone. And you see the fastball well, and you think you're on time with it, it just blows by you.
With that slider too, like the slider was absolutely devastating on Friday as well. He was just getting so many swings and misses. And I feel like all the hype that was around him for his first start of the season, he definitely lived up to it. He literally made just one bad pitch per se, and that was the home run to Caden Mahler, who was a freshman at Long Beach State who had quite the day as well.
Slider, when you throw that fastball by enough guys, at some point they're just going to start trying to be super early and trying to hit the fastball because they've been beat on it so many times, and that opens up him going to the slider, which is another really good pitch for him. So he does a really good job pitching off his fastball, using his strengths to kind of set up that secondary stuff, and when both of them are on, it's going to be tough to hit.
I think, Landon Sims obviously got a lot of the attention, but Long Beach State they have been an awesome program for forever. They're one of the best programs in the country, year in and year out. So they're really, really scrappy. That's why they have the name the Dirtbags. And if any team's going to, scrape together runs and get 90s versus a pitcher like Landon Sims on the road at Dudy Noble, which we'll get into is, probably the best college baseball atmosphere in the country. The Dirtbags are going to get it done. So they found a way to do that. But obviously Mississippi State took the third game and, kind of swung the momentum a little bit back in their favor. But what was the atmosphere like there on Friday, Brent?
Man, it was awesome. So that was the first time I've been back to the new stadium since we built it. Obviously my last year in 2017, the year you guys came to us was the last year of the old stadium. And then we started construction on the new one the next year, which I just haven't been able to get back for, so honestly, every time, by the time the season starts, we're always in camp already. So this is the first year that we haven't had spring training already started by opening weekend. So I thought I'd take advantage of it, get down there, see the stadium. And the cool part about it is, you remember the atmosphere. The atmosphere hasn't changed. It's the same. It's the same electric environment that has always been. It's just kind of the stadium itself's been brought a little bit more into the 21st century, which it needed a little bit. It's the outfield, the permanent structure in the outfield look great. The concourse looks great. The backdrop is great. They did an incredible job designing it and building it. And it's it's as good as it's ever been.
Now,
So-
I have a question in that I saw on Twitter, the fans were giving Long Beach State players like food after the game. What's that all about? Because I'm a South Carolina guy. I've never been to Mississippi State, never watched a game there. So that to me was something that like completely caught my attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ben will be able to tell you more about that than I can, honestly. But that's a pretty regular occurrence is of visiting teams getting fed after games. You just kind of go out the outfield, go out to the lounge, and I mean, there's 200 grills going out there, all cooking different stuff. So you kind of just go walk around. It's just a big buffet style cookout where you can kind of grab what you want, all kinds of meats and sides and stuff like that. And that's one thing that our fans take a lot of pride in is being a little hostile during the game and giving the home field advantage. It obviously exists, but then treating the visiting teams very well after the game, let them come out, hang out, eat, drink, have a good time, and kind of do what they do.
I remember vividly, we had a really, fiery, aggressive right fielder, and he was getting chirped a little bit and, definitely got in his head. And so he missed a ball in the gap or something. And I think he chirped back at them and they were like, oh man, we're about to cook y'all burgers and dogs after the game and hang out with you. And you got to go say that. So, but I mean, it's the fondest memory that I have of college baseball is playing at Dudy Noble. I mean, I had never seen anything like it or even really realized that there were atmospheres like that. And Brent, I do want to ask, because when my friends from Columbia heard that you were coming on the podcast, they all asked like one thing. They're like, do you remember hitting a 650-foot home run into the trees over the left field lounge off a hanging slider while we were there? I know you hit 23 bombs that year, but
no, I remember that one. There's a funny story about that one, and it's like, it's kind of mean, but I don't know who the guy pitching was. I'm
dude,
sure with his
let it fly.
He is doing fine though. I know. But I remember my first at bat off the starter. I either grounded out or popped out or something, and that was kind of going into this 2 or 3 week period where I was as locked in as I've ever been. Like, I've never experienced anything like that. I don't think I might not ever again, just with how kind of dialed in I was with pitch sequences and what pitch is coming, what my swing was doing. And so I had that first at bat. I pop out or ground out, and I just come back to the dugout, and I come up to our shortstop. I remember word for it. I said, if I face that kid again, I'm going to hit the furthest home run you've ever seen. And then I came back up the next time in the order, and I knew he was going to throw a slider, and he threw a slider, and I put a good swing on it, and I hit that one really good. So that was one that I do specifically remember from that year, just kind of how that whole series of events unfolded. I was very sure if I got another bat that I was going to hit a homer. I ended up doing it, so it's pretty cool.
Mark, he's underselling it like crazy. Like my buddies and I still are like, I don't think that Brent Rooker ball has landed yet. It's 4 or 5 years after the fact.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because when I was tweeting about that we were going to interview Brent today, I also got a comment from a buddy of mine who I guess is from the Memphis area, and he told me to ask Brent about a similar type thing where he hit a monster home run. Let me pull it up real quick because I want to make sure I get it correct. But it was, I believe, against, let me find it real quick. Where is it at? Hold on one sec.
While you're looking for that, Brent, a question about the old left field lounge before they redid the park. Do you have like a favorite structure that was out there? Or, I remember it being real hodgepodge of buildings.
It was nuts. You had, I think maybe my favorite one was like, I don't even know what they're called. The things that it's just like a lift, right? Like a hydraulic lift.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would use it for, to like clean windows on a building or put up like a billboard or something. But like there was a group of people out there who had one of those, and they would just like hydraulically lift it up, and then they had seats up in the top of it, and it was like right to the left of the batter's eye in center field, and it was always the tallest one. They had signs on it and stuff. So that was one I specifically remember. I don't remember if it was Kappa Sig or SAE or somebody out there had like just an old milk truck that they had built up like 5 or 6 levels, which was, I mean, it was an absolute safety hazard, but they had that thing out there forever, and that was really cool. They would always have whatever the capacity on that thing was. They'd have 30 or 40 more than that, and it would just look like it was about to fall at any second. But those are kind of two of the ones that stuck out and were the most memorable as far as the rig setup goes, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So I found the high school thing. It was a 3 home run game against Franklin Road Academy in the state playoffs, I believe.
Yeah, that was my senior year, and it was the state semifinals, and I hit 3 that game to send us to the state championship the next day, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, the article you sent me, it says Franklin Road Academy's baseball state championship hopes were dashed by Evangelical's Brent Rooker. It's just by you.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun tournament we had. We made a good run. We ended up winning the championship that year, my senior year. We made a kind of a good run throughout the whole state tournament, which was a fun memory that I have.
I think we need to bring up, I don't think we did Brent's Mississippi State career justice, but in 2017 that year, Brent led the SEC in just about every offensive category. He won the first SEC Triple Crown since Rafael Palmeiro did it in 1984. You said that you went into a period where you were totally locked in, and I heard you on Jake Mangum's show saying that you got back to the dugout and were like, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. Was that just something that's hard to even explain, being in that type of zone, or what does it feel like having that type of season and hearing, Rafael Palmeiro comps?
Yeah, it was obviously a really cool season, the whole thing, just throughout the entire year. But there was that, it really kind of started the series against you guys, like just kind of 3 or 4 week period where it was just like, I felt like I knew what pitch was coming every single time, and like I never missed it when I got it. And it was, like I said, I'd never been that locked in before, and I honestly don't know if I ever will again for the rest of my career. It was just like, I mean, the ball just looked as big as it possibly could. I knew what pitch was coming. I put a good swing on every pitch in the strike zone. I just barreled everything, and I think that was the Kentucky game. I came back to Jake and I was just like, dude, I don't know what's going on right now. Like I'm not this good. I promise. Things are just like all clicking and coming together at the same time. And it was really cool, but just kind of to be able to do that for most of the whole season, I think was the special part as far as the consistency standpoint goes, and putting in the preparation, the work to make sure I continue to do it. But yeah, that whole year was really fun.
And doing it against, there were other guys in the SEC that season. I mean, we played against UF, so we played against Jonathan India, Brady Singer. I think Faedo was pitching there that year, and Jackson Kowar
was there too.
Yeah, it's disgusting rotations all around. So, I mean, to be able to do it against that competition, obviously you're with the Twins right now, that pays off. But man, it's just something that's, I can imagine it's hard to describe, but feels, as good as you can feel on a baseball field.
Yeah, it was a bunch of fun. Obviously, the SEC is as good as it gets in the college game, as far as I'm concerned. Being able to kind of have that competition every week and get those at bats and get those experiences to be able to kind of build and continue to improve throughout your college career, I think is invaluable. Not even just going into pro ball, obviously, because you're kind of a step or two ahead of the game once you get to pro ball, because you're used to seeing the caliber of arms, the quality of arms over and over again. But when you see guys that good consistently, you continue to improve throughout your season, right? And then those the bats later in the year, a little bit more comfortable against the high caliber arms than were early in the year, and you can just kind of build on what you've done. The first few conference series throughout the year, by the end of the conference season, the conference tournament, and the postseason, you're a better hitter than you were early on.
Was there a favorite, or aside from Duty Noble, a stadium you liked playing in, or one that was particularly more hostile than some of the others?
I think Arkansas was probably the most hostile as far as just fans being on you and pushing the line a little bit too far sometimes. I think that goes to Arkansas. I think my favorite place to play was LSU, just because that environment is very, very cool. Obviously with all the history in their program, and it's a similar type atmosphere to Duty Noble. Not quite as good, I will say, but it's very, very close, and I like playing at Alex Box a lot. Ole Miss is another one, just because I played, obviously it's a big rivalry. I played well there, and we swept them at their place my last year, which was one of my favorite memories as well.
Yeah.
But I think, South Carolina is a good one as well. Another really cool spot to play. But I think if I was saying my favorite spot to go, I think it'd be LSU. I played there 3 times, I guess, twice in the regular season and once in the Super Regional. I think that's probably my favorite ballpark besides playing would have been LSU.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you didn't have too much trouble, but was there any pitcher specifically that you remember that you're like, man, that guy had my number, or like, I don't want to run into him at all?
Yeah, Jackson Kowar from Florida carved me, and he still does now, which is frustrating. So, because I faced him in AAA and the big leagues this year, and for whatever reason, he throws a right-on-right changeup that I can't seem to figure out. So I'm still working to figure that one out. but I know Jackson pretty well, so we joke about it. But I did get him once this year. I hit a homer off the batter's eye in AAA, so I got him one time. But I think that might have been the only time I made contact. And I hated that year. So he had my number in college. He still kind of has it now, and I'm trying to work to figure him out.
You guys will get to face each other some more in the coming years. So it'll be a long battle that, as a show, we'll have to keep track of and do see how it goes for you. Hey, did you ever get to play at Southern Miss?
Yeah, we had that's actually a good call. We had our regional there my last year. So they were the 1 seed, we were the 2 seed. And I said Arkansas was the most hostile. I take that back and say Southern Miss is the most hostile.
I see.
Is brutal.
Last episode.
It's terrible.
Yeah, episode number 1, I said that was the most hostile environment that I ever played at.
Okay, so you go to LSU or Arkansas or Ole Miss, and fans are on you, and the feeling is okay, they're joking, they're chirping me, whatever, it's fine. I played at Southern Miss, and I was like, these people hate me. As a human being, they dislike me. And this is a whole nother thing that I've experienced in college so far. They are mad at me, and they do not care if I leave healthy. So it was, I take that back. That's a good call. I'm glad you said something, because Southern Miss I totally agree, was definitely the most hostile I played in.
Because we went down, obviously team from New York City. I don't know if we won a game. I don't know if we won a game that whole time on that whole trip, which is fine because, getting to play against some awesome teams and some really cool atmospheres. But we went from Duty Noble playing against you guys in Southern Alabama. Yeah. And then we drove to Hattiesburg into the middle of nowhere. There's one restaurant, one hotel, and then you play there, and they're yelling at their own team. They're yelling at you guys. They are tough. It was hostile, really harsh.
Well, one, they had a really good team that year. They had a bunch of talent. They were the one, like I said, they hosted our regional. But my dad played at the University of Memphis back in the late '80s. He said it was the same way when he played. Southern Miss was the worst place to go by far, just because of how hostile and how rowdy their fans are. It's just it's like I said, it's not that they're just chirping you and heckling you. It's they are mad at me, and they are genuinely being as mean as they possibly can to me right now. It's on a personal level. It's a whole nother thing. For what I don't know what the reason is. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
It wasn't that I didn't believe you, Ben. It was just as a New Jersey kid, and then I didn't play baseball in college. I went to University of South Carolina. My interactions with Southern Miss are 0 to none. So to find out that it's the most hostile environment is crazy.
I totally agree with you.
I'm glad we covered that, because I know Mark took my word for it, and whoever's listening has probably had the same reaction to that. But to know that it's
I'll confirm. I'll happily confirm that.
Yeah, to know that it's a universal experience for anybody who goes and plays there it's heartwarming for me. They didn't just hate us; they hated everybody who played there.
They hate it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Mark, do we want to move into some of these other series?
Yeah, let's talk about another big SEC one. Why not, right? Where Vandy took on Oklahoma State. And unfortunately for the SEC, again, they lose this series. But that was a really, all 3 games were really well played. It felt to the end, they were pretty close. And Vandy coming in as the, I guess, technically higher ranked team, even though Oklahoma State was still, very much ranked in the top 10. It was really nice to see those 2 teams go against each other, because they played baseball in such a clean way, something that you don't always see at the major league level. It was very fundamentally sound, and it wasn't hitting home runs. It wasn't, just trying to outswing everybody. It was a very focused and clean game.
Yeah. Brent, do you have many Vanderbilt experiences? Because that's another team that obviously the whole SEC, you could say this about, but Vandy past 5 or 6 years seems like in Omaha, consistently. So
we played at their place in 2016, my sophomore year. We went in there ranked number 2. We were 15 or so. We were really good that year, but we went in and beat them 2 out of 3 there. But I only played there once. But when you talk about a program that's kind of got development figured out, specifically from a pitching standpoint, they just run out first round arms left and right. They got middle relievers that get picked in the 2nd and 3rd round, just make it to the big leagues in a year or 2. They do it consistently. They've started to develop a lot of more bats recently, I think. In Dansby, and then what was the right fielder? JJ as well.
Yeah.
Some really good hitters. But the way that they've kind of figured out the arm production thing is crazy. Just run out pitcher after pitcher after pitcher who's 95 plus with nasty stuff, and they're doing as good a job as anybody.
Yeah, I mean, they shut out Oklahoma State, who's, like we said, a big player in the Big 12, top 10 team this season. They shut them out in the first game. They held them to, I believe, 5 hits. They struck out 18 batters. So, I mean, that's always something you're going to see with Vandy.
Yeah.
Just dominant pitching, holding guys down. Unfortunately, well, depending on who you ask, they couldn't take the second two, but that's going to be the theme of the season for them as it has been for years.
And they're doing something really interesting this year on the pitching side as well. I don't know if you saw this, Brent, but they are wearing like watches on their wrist, all 9 players wearing watches, and it tells the pitcher what pitch to throw. So as a ball player yourself, I'd love to hear your take on it, because it's kind of the hot topic right now. I feel like in college baseball, like, are you pro watches or are you against it?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I don't like the pitchers. Like, I know Kentucky does, especially the pitcher wearing like the quarterback wristbands as well.
Yeah.
That's just kind of from an aesthetic standpoint. I think it just kind of looks dumb. And I understand the point of it, but I mean, at some point, like, you're a high level Division I player. I think the ability to kind of communicate with your catcher as a pitcher and call your own games and kind of dictate what you feel like throwing, how you feel like you're throwing it, and things like that. There's a ton of value in that. And again, I understand it from a coaching perspective. Like, I understand the desire to kind of want to control what your pitcher is throwing and have that much command over the game. But I think if you really look at, I mean, I say this, it's Vanderbilt who's really the best team. But I think if you look at like what the best teams do, they have the ability to communicate between the pitcher and the catcher and kind of figure out what's working, what's not working, and work through that together. And I think the pitcher always has a better feel for what he wants to throw than anybody else.
Yeah, definitely from a player development standpoint, it's interesting. We mentioned last episode, just talking about catcher development and how being able to, have a rapport with your pitcher and establish that level of trust and call your own game is big, not only for the development of the team and the success of the team, but for guys, trying to get drafted as well. And then it's a big point of emphasis. Yeah, big point of emphasis, defensive catching up through the ranks of minor league ball and into the pros. So that might hinder. I mean, I'm interested to see how a couple years down the road that might hinder some game calling abilities.
Yeah, I mean, you know, from a defensive catcher standpoint, like the metrics in pro ball have kind of begun to show like throwing is pretty much the least important part of defensive catching. So what's becoming hugely important is the ability to steal pitches, like get pitches that are balls called strikes, and then the ability to manage a pitching staff and call a smart game and know scouting reports, understand how to get hitters out and then execute by calling the right pitches. So if you're kind of eliminating the development of that, I think it's going to end up hurting guys' draft stock a little bit, probably just because that's becoming such a huge part of being a catcher in pro ball, especially from a defensive standpoint.
I was seeing stuff too, like, and I think this is an interesting conversation to have as well, not just on the development side, but actual gameplay side, like, because this kind of eliminates the ability to steal signs. There's absolutely no way you can really steal the sign there. I mean, do you think that there's really a value in that? Is that something that is like, I know all around baseball, if you can get any advantage, you will take it. But like in college baseball, is that something that's like really sought after?
Yeah. I mean, specifically stealing signs from a catcher from second base is pretty hard to do. I think most of the time when you're getting tips off the pitcher, it's from something the pitcher is doing that has nothing to do with the actual pitch call or the sign, or B, it's the way the catcher's setting up pre-pitch, which also has nothing to do with the sign. So I think, there's still ways that you're going to be able to get advantages and kind of figure out what pitch is coming through figuring out tips and hints and things like that. Actually, how often do you actually have a guy on second base? It's not that often. And then working through trying to figure out what the sign sequence is, verifying that that's what it is for sure before you screw your hitter up, and then being able to relay that successfully. It's more difficult than it sounds, I think. I don't think it really happens all that often successfully. So I think the main value in trying to get pitches comes from getting them off the pitcher or the catcher with tendencies or tips or whatever they may be doing.
I'm gonna push back a little bit.
Okay.
Not all of us can hit a ball into the woods and left, and a lot of us were fighting for 90 feet. But in the Ivy League, at least, we made a living off of picking signs from the catcher. And you'd kind of be shocked, these Ivy League guys.
Go figure.
Yeah, you think you guys would have super complex pitch sequences and nobody can figure out.
You would think so, but and I don't want to tip anyone's hand. Columbia opens up this year, and I want to, leave them with a competitive advantage. But, I got my fair share of hits from the guy on second telling me what was coming, and we had guys who were really, really good at it. Top of the order guys who got on base and had the signs by the time they, came home. So I think it's a bigger part of the game and different, based on what conference you might play in. The level of competition might be a little bit different than, the pitchers that you may have faced, or different than the pitchers that I may have faced, different than the pitchers that, they face in the Big Ten, all of whom have different sign schemes and ways of trying to prevent things and ways of running things. My general thought, I just want to give my 2 cents and see what you guys think about it, is that if tech is legal, I think tech should be legal. So if a watch is allowed, I think you should be able to try to steal signs with electronic means. If it's not, I don't think you should be. I don't know how you might do that. Maybe you go back to the Ivy League and get some, hackers on your team or something. But I think either unilaterally allow it or don't.
Yeah, I mean, just looks like they had Apple Watches on, so maybe get their iCloud information and can intercept like the text messages going through there. I don't like, as a former catcher myself, I feel like for me, if I was behind the plate, I would probably hate it. And it's not that like I called this amazing game, or like I had this like, this high level of like, oh, I know what I'm doing more than the coach. But I feel like the idea of even just like giving a sign and like a pitcher being able to shake something off, especially if they don't feel like they have it, I feel like that's something that's so valuable. Like, the guy doesn't have his, breaking ball today, and the coach is calling it because in that situation, it feels like the right pitch. Yeah. It still might not be the right pitch because he doesn't feel comfortable throwing it. Like, Vandy's so smart, so I believe anything that they're doing, because like you said, they're just a pitching factory, but it feels like really forward thinking on something that didn't necessarily need to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, at some point, it's got to affect the catcher's ability to stay engaged in the game, right? Like, a lot of his job is remembering scouting reports, reading the situation, putting down what pitch to call. And I think if you take that away from him, it might take away from focus other aspects of the game, just because he's going to be a little bit less engaged, a little bit less locked in.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, we'll see what happens with that, but it was certainly a hot topic in the Twitter sphere. So it'll be something to keep an eye out. If I don't know, Vandy plays Mississippi State soon or whatever, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Maybe you can get some inside scoop for us from some of the guys on the team or something.
I'll do it.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I guess, and then around the rest of the, college baseball, there were a couple upsets that were like really cool to see. The big one I feel like everyone's talking about is Bryant sweeping ECU at home. And that series had even a little controversy with the, what was it, game 2, I think on Saturday. ECU thought they hit a walk-off home run, but the first base umpire called time right before the pitch was thrown, but the pitch was still thrown, so he hit it out. Like, I mean, one, just for Bryant, this is a Northeast school, right? To come in and sweep ECU like that's a pretty big deal, especially because ECU, I think, was ranked like 12th or 10th, whatever they were. And now it's looking like Bryant might be a legit force in college baseball, which as a Northeast guy, definitely a little partial, but I love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, Bryant was always known as, a strong baseball school in the Northeast, particularly in the offense, if I remember correctly. One of my friends played there, lost his senior season at Columbia to COVID, and then went to play at Bryant. And I just remember hearing like how stacked their lineup was. They were scoring 12, 13 runs a game. And so it's not necessarily surprising, I would say, to people who kind of know the Bryant program and kind of the strength. Yeah, absolutely.
Karinchak was a Bryant guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think I played him in the NECBL one year in the college summer ball. And then obviously I faced him in the big leagues too, but I thought he was a Bryant guy.
We're gonna talk about summer ball in just a minute. But yeah, I mean, that's a great series, and it's something that I love to see for Northeast baseball. And ECU is going to be fine, right? Like, honestly, this type of thing might help a team down the road. I don't know, Brent, if you guys had any slow starts while you were at Mississippi State, but do you think that type of thing can motivate a team to do better down the stretch?
Yeah, I never actually won an opening day in 4 years. So my first year of the year I redshirted and didn't play, we lost to Western Carolina. My second year we lost to Cincinnati. My third year we lost to Florida Atlantic, and my fourth year we lost to Texas Tech. So I never won an opening day and opening game, which is kind of sad. But I mean, yeah, you have those as a program that's ranked highly pretty consistently. You have those either upset on the weekends or midweek games that you lose that you absolutely shouldn't lose. It kind of gives you a little reality check, puts things into perspective, and kind of lets you know you're not where you need to be. You need to work a little harder and focus on some things to get better. So yeah, I mean, the really good programs and really good teams that lose early in the year, they're going to be fun.
Yeah, we were no stranger to that. When we would open up at UF and then play you guys in Southern Alabama and get back up north, and we're 1-17. We're motivated going into Ivy League play. So no, definitely agree with you. It does suck not winning an opening day game. I'm sure the crowds are always at their strongest, but hey, I mean, if you need motivation, and sure, that'll do it for you. Even one game, right? Like shit, that was opening day, and sure, we didn't have our A game. We gotta get it together. So that's interesting to hear. I want to talk about summer ball a little bit. You brought up playing in the NECBL. I also know that you played in the Cape Cod League. First off, what was it like, playing up in the Northeast? The Cape League atmosphere is obviously awesome, but playing wood bats, playing in a maybe unfamiliar territory for you, what was that like?
Yeah, I loved it. I spent 2 summers in Plymouth in the ACBL both years.
Pilgrims.
Live with the same, the Pilgrims. Live with the same host family. Have a great relationship with them. They still come to spring training games, and they came to see me when we were in Boston this year. So, incredible people that made my 2 summers, an incredible experience. But that league's really good. Speaking about the NECBL and moving over to the Cape is obviously what it is. It's highly talented guys, really good draft prospects, just kind of all over the field, just kind of playing what's basically, I mean, honestly, what it is just like glorified sandlot games, right? It's on poorly conditioned high school fields. Like some of them don't even have lights. There's just people sitting with lawn chairs everywhere. But it's a very, very fun atmosphere with obviously very, very good players, and it kind of prepares you for the next level as well.
It's funny because it's funny to hear you say that, because I grew up in a suburb of Boston. Okay. And so growing up, you see the Cape League games, that's basically pro ball, watching it. And, seeing those fields, you're like, these fields are amazing. Like, maybe you luck out in a summer ball, like a high school summer ball game gets scheduled there, and you get to play on one of those fields, and you're like, oh, we're playing in Katuitt today. Like, fuck yeah. But yeah, then you go and play college ball, and you play at a place like Dudy Noble, and you're like, oh my God, those fields are horrible.
Yeah, but that all adds the experience. And half of the Cape's whole thing is like the nostalgic feel of it, right? And the whole baseball as it should be kind of thing. It adds the environment, the atmosphere, and it's a super cool part of it.
So I want to pitch you my idea, Mark. I don't know if you've heard my idea for summer ball.
I don't think I have.
Yeah, you're both welcome to invest, and we can get this to become a reality. But here's the basis of it. It's a league where, let's say there are 9 teams. You play 50-game schedule or whatever, and the team with the best record leaves. Then they go home. Then the playoffs, you're playing to leave. So there's 8 teams left. Semifinals. You win your matchup, you get the hell out of there. And then when there's 2 teams left, they both want to win too, because you want to win, obviously, be competitive. I think it would be the most competitive league in the country.
I don't disagree with you. Dude, you get towards the end of those summers, and it's just like, man, I really want to go home for like a week before school starts. I don't want to roll back into my parents' house, unpack my stuff, and then 2 days later pack back up and just leave and go to school. It's just, I need some kind of break here, and it gets towards the end of those seasons, and it does, like, the teams that make the playoffs, once you get into the playoffs, it becomes win mode, and your competitive stuff kicks in, trying to win it. But there are very few people who are upset when they don't make the playoffs in summer ball. I'll say that.
It's the best.
Nobody's grinding to win that last game or two to try to sneak into the playoffs in the back door. Like, all right, we're good. Let's all get out of here. We had a good summer. We had fun this week.
Mark, as someone who didn't play college ball and college summer ball, does that sound shocking to you, or is that kind of something that is logical?
No, because I mean, like even like playing like AAU ball in the summer, like you had those games where you just like kind of had no interest in being there. And I can imagine like after a full season of college baseball, after going to class, like you just kind of want some time to just relax and not focus on baseball. Like I feel like that time off is super important. So it doesn't shock me, but I mean, it's on the outside looking in, it's like I feel like you always have like that retrospective thing where you're like, man, if I could play like one more game, I would do it again. Like I would do it over. So like, it depends, I guess, kind of where you're at. But in the moment, I mean, there was games where it was like it was raining on like a Tuesday night, and I'm like in high school, I'm like, I have no business being here. Just get me off the field. Let's go. Find the next day.
I'll clarify. You're never like actively trying to lose, but there are games where like you're less upset that you lost than maybe other times. Like I'll say.
And like I got to imagine there's like not as much like, because like when you're playing for your school, there's a little bit of pride there. Like when you're playing for a summer ball team, like you're kind of, I don't want to say like being selfish, but you're kind of playing for yourself at those points.
You're only playing for yourself. And like you meet awesome guys, and some people meet lifelong friends in summer ball, and people live together, they get to know each other really well. And obviously you want the best for all of them, but you're there to get your reps. You're there to get 300, 400 at bats. Pitchers are there to get their innings. And I mean, Brent is a position player, but we're not drinking in the bullpen and doing national anthem standoffs. And you're playing 55, 60 games in 60 days, and you're like, man, I need a day off. I need a break. Get me home. Let me recoup. So that's my idea for summer ball. I think it would be,
I
would be a hit.
I think it'd be a very competitive league. I think you're correct.
I'll put you down. Yeah.
My one question would be, so when it's the final two teams, what happens to the team that loses? Do they just have to stay in the Cape or wherever the summer league is until the next season starts?
That's a good question. That's a good question. There has to be some sort of purgatory for the last place team. But I think that would revolutionize the way summer ball is played and talked about.
Very creative idea. Yeah.
I'm in.
Oh boy, I love it. You want to talk about some of the unbelievable performances we saw this weekend? I mean, we should just call this the Tommy White segment.
He's unbelievable. So I actually got to see Tommy White at the MLB Draft Combine this summer because I went and like scouted a lot of players for my YouTube channel. And Tommy White, I mean, you see this guy take BP once and you go, oh, he knows how to hit. He just hits the ball a little bit differently. He's one of the few guys who's putting up like these massive exit velos and hitting the ball over the fence with a wood bat for high school players. And you kind of wondered why he got left off of like draft lists at points, and it ended up just being because, position wise and whatever money, that it had nothing to do with his game. And then you see his first ever game in college at NC State, just three home runs like it was nothing. And I think he was hitting either third or fourth in the NC State lineup for a team that was at the College World Series last year. I mean, his bat skill is unbelievable. I granted, like, as the season goes on, you're going to be able to figure it out a little bit more with this guy, but it seems like he's going to mash all year long. And he finished the weekend with 5 homers and 12 RBIs. It's a pretty good 3-game stretch.
Yeah. And true freshman doing that too. Which, I mean, he doesn't have those at bats under his belt. He might not have gotten, all of the practice time he needed. Brent, you redshirted, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of guys, that's crucial developmental time, and he can just go in and do that as a true freshman. I mean, obviously it's a one series sample, but hell of a start for Tommy White. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, guys who can just kind of roll out of high school and contribute right away in the ACC or the SEC or whatever conference in the high level division of baseball. That's amazing to me because I got to school and I was nowhere ready to do that, which is why I took the red shirt, because I simply wasn't a good enough player to compete and contribute at that point. And I needed a year of development. So guys, I've always been amazed by guys who can just make the transition straight from high school to high level D1 ball and continue to play like that. It's impressive.
Brent, is there a like Tommy White-ish weekend that you remember having during your college days where you're like, oh man, I'm so locked in, and basically anything you're throwing at me, it's going over the fence?
Yeah, I had
all of 2017.
Specifically, we played a Tuesday against Florida Atlantic. I hit a homer. We played Wednesday against Florida Atlantic. I hit 2 homers. One of them was a walk-off. We played the Saturday game that weekend. I hit 3 homers. So I hit 6 homers in like a 4-game stretch, I guess, just kind of the hottest streak that I got on. So similar to what he did, but I was also 22 and it's like 8.
You don't have to discount it at all. That's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, he was really good. And then, let's throw some love to our guy from Murray State, Bryson Bloomer, who had a 6-for-6 day, and he walked as well. So, you start off any game, especially early in the year, 6-for-6, getting on base 7 out of 7 times. It's pretty impressive in itself as well.
Sure.
You're seeing it
well.
well.
You go 6-for-6, and you're kind of take a step back and think you're good for the next 3 or 4 games as far as hits go. So the game gets a little bit easier when you're not pressing like that. So 6-for-6 is impressive.
Definitely. And then we got some awesome pitching performances too. Sammy Natera out of New Mexico State University. He went 7 innings, 1 hit, 14 Ks, which is, speaks for itself, obviously. 2 strikeouts per inning. Guy, I think he got overshadowed a little bit because there was a no-hitter, a CG no-hitter that day by Colin Hunter of Sac State. But Sammy Natera, man, that was, I think he got, I forget what conference that is, but he got Player of the Week, obviously. And excited to keep watching him because he wasn't on my radar before. And it'll be exciting to see him going forward.
And you were talking about the Sac State kid, Colin Hunter. That was also his first ever college start as well. True freshman.
Yes. A lot of freshman performances that jumped off of the page.
Oh yeah,
really, really cool.
I was having a lot of fun this weekend, because especially with Major League Baseball kind of taking a back seat right now with the lockout, just flipping through every single game that was on ESPN Plus. And it felt like there was a buzz around college baseball this weekend. Brent, you said you were at the games at Mississippi State. Like, did it feel like there was a little extra buzz this weekend than normal?
It did. It was the most, I think, social media content I've seen surrounding college baseball, ever. And I think it's due to, like guys like you pouring in the game, guys like y'all starting your podcast, kind of doing that whole thing. I know Jared Carabas is doing a bunch of college stuff with his account right now, which is really, really cool to see because, I think he does a great job with his whole brand and everything like that. So him promoting the college game is huge. And I think a lot of people are turning to college ball with the MLB athletes right now and kind of having their eyes open to how good the product it is from both an on-field standpoint and then an atmosphere and having fun and tailgating, things like that. I think a lot of people don't really realize the type of atmosphere and the type of game that it is. So I think it's very good for the sport, right now, kind of getting fresh eyes on it, things like that.
And Brent, one question that I forgot to ask early on, talking about Dudy Noble and Mississippi State, just like, all these social media posts and, players getting attention, us talking about guys who had great weekends. Did you feel like a celebrity there? Like, were people stopping you on the street and asking for pictures? And because, that's the biggest program around that area, right? Like, they don't really have necessarily an MLB team, and Starkville is Starkville. So,
yeah. So just from a whole university program standpoint, I think, as far as the importance of our baseball team to our university and to our fans, I don't think there's another college that really compares as far as like how much people care about the baseball team in comparison to the other athletic programs, right? See, like at LSU, they have their really good fan base, but they also have their football team won that championship 2 years ago. And I'm not saying our football program isn't good because it is, but it's just like the level of care that our fan base as a whole has towards our baseball team, I think is at another level than really anywhere else. So yeah, the good players on every baseball team are recognized around the city and around the university and around the campus. So it adds to kind of the experience of playing there and the how special it is to get to represent the university and be on the team.
Do you wish that there were name, image, likeness deals when you were at school?
Yeah, I missed that by a few years, kind of unfortunately. Obviously, I don't know what that looks like and what kind of profits guys are bringing on that from a college baseball standpoint. But it would have been fun. It would have been fun to be able to do that a little bit. Yeah.
I think he could have put some money in your pocket in a legal manner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy, do we want to talk about some uniforms and then maybe wrap it up here?
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. I came up with my 5 favorite that I've seen. I went a little boring, I think, in that like I wasn't really able to find any like random school. I think I sprinkled one in there, but I'm a huge jersey guy. Some of my best videos on my YouTube channel have been just talking about uniforms and giving my opinions on them. So when I see the array of uniforms that college baseball has, it gets me giddy because you get some awesome looking unis out there, and Mississippi State has some great ones, by the way.
We do. Our uniform set the last 2 years has been really good. Our new whites they wear, that's like the V-neck with the 85 Mississippi State script on it, is a very good look, and I like the rest of our combos as well.
Oh, that reminds me, Brent, talking V-necks. There's a picture, this might sound weird. There's a picture of you that circulated at some point of you in the locker room, Mississippi State, during like a pregame speech or something. And you're wearing a V-neck that's like down to your belly button or something. Is that like a you thing? Is it a comfort thing?
I don't know. I just did that. I don't even know why. I didn't wear it that whole year. I wore it for part of it because I wanted you're in college and how like looking like whatever you want to look like is important when you're a college player. I wanted like the 3/4 sleeve look, but then I also wanted it to look like I had no undershirt on. So I literally just cut the V-neck like all the way down to like build my chest, and then still kept the 3/4 sleeves going on. So yeah, I know exactly what picture you're talking about.
I didn't remember it until you said that just now. So I hope that was a very public picture, because I would feel weird if it wasn't, but it jogged my memory there.
No, it was on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay, good. Whew. Mark, what do you got? You want to go back and forth here, and then we can ask Brent about maybe one or two if he remembers any vividly?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll start off with my weird team. I saw Tulane's green jerseys that I believe they're called the Slugger Bird. They kind of copied the St. Louis Cardinals in that they have the baseball bat going across the front, and then they have like their own little bird on there, and it's bright green. It's like just something you don't really see too often, that color of green. I love those. I thought those are some of the best ones that I've seen.
Nice.
I love the green with like the light blue and the yellow. I think they have a really good color scheme. I like a lot of their uniforms.
We played against Tulane on that same trip where we drove from Mississippi State to Hattiesburg down to Tulane. So got to see those two, and those are awesome. It kind of gives like like you said, Mark, the old school Cardinals vibes. I had the Wichita State all black uniforms. They did a full black kit with yellow piping, yellow script, which I love. One of their players was wearing a leather belt, which is a pro move, big league move. So that's what we did at Columbia, and we did that for game day, and then we had our practice, Dick's Sporting Goods belts. So it was good to see somebody rocking a leather belt out there. What do you got, Mark?
Okay, I'll go with my next one. I really like the LSU. What are they called? Like the championship tops or whatever. The one where they wear the gold on top and they have the purple hat with the white pants. That's just a clean look to me. Like that. Yellow is a hard color to pull off. Absolutely crush it with that jersey.
And I got the Citadel has the Carolina blue pinstripe unis, all Carolina blue with the pants included. And then I'll just jump into the next one because it's the same, but the Vandy black pinstripes are unbelievable. And they never get old. You see them every year. They circulate. I saw a little league team wearing them, last summer. It's just, they're timeless. They're classics.
I'd be the contrarian here. I hate those Vandy jerseys. I hate them so much. And I know I'm in the minority here. I'm getting flipped off by my girlfriend off camera because she loves them. I can't stand them. I think they're so ugly. Clearly I'm in the minority here because it feels like everyone loves them. But to me, I'm like, Vandy has some great jerseys. I feel like that one to me is that's a swing and a miss for me.
Do you guys, Brent, like in SEC, you guys all have awesome uniforms. Do you admire other teams' uniforms at all?
Yeah. So, I get a lot of flack for this just for being a Mississippi State guy, but Ole Miss powder blues are sick. I love that. Love that uniform combo. I love the color combination. We wear the same ones
with the twins. Yeah.
Yeah.
So beautiful. We have this pretty much exact same uniforms, which I love the scheme. I think Ole Miss looks really good when they wear them. I like Clemson's uniforms a lot. I like the purple and the orange combination. I think they have an orange top that they wear with white pants. I think that looks really good. What else was I like the Vandy. I don't know if Vandy still wears it, but they used to have the one on Sunday that was like camo, and then the logo was like a red, white, and blue type thing, and they wore a matching hat. I thought those looked really good as well. But I think my favorite uniform combo. I like our all blacks. I just like stuff that's different. So I like all the all black stuff as well. But then our favorite non-Mississippi State uniform combo is the Ole Miss powder blues. I think, and I catch a lot of heat for that, but I think they look really good.
You can't knock it. They're beautiful. I have a thing for I have a thing for cream colored jerseys. So,
Yeah.
Mississippi State, Ole Miss. I mean, you guys have awesome cream colored jerseys. And then I had the ETSU banana uniforms, which they are 1-0 in. We talked about it last.
Yes.
Talked about it last episode, but I had those, and then the BC home whites with script, and then the maroon high socks, which I don't typically like white or gray uniforms, but those ones were just really clean. I love script across the lettering, and Northern team as well. Have to show some love.
See, Brent took a little bit of mine because I had Ole Miss's Baby Blues. I just simply said they are undefeated. They are the greatest jerseys in college baseball. That's my number one. They're so good. It's like you hit a home run in that jersey, you make a diving play, it's an automatic number one on Web Gems.
Yeah, they did a thing I think for a few years where they all wore black cleats with them though. And I thought that was bad. And I think recently, either the last couple of years, they started with the red cleats, which go way better. I think they look better, and I think that's kind of tied the whole look together.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then you mentioned Clemson. I was going to put them on my list, but as a Gamecock, can't do that because absolutely hate Clemson, and that will be something I will not back down on. And then the other two teams I had on here was Texas's burnt orange jerseys. I think they're really good. I wish they had burnt orange pants to go with it, though. Really, just embrace it fully, go full burnt orange, and they would probably be some of the best. But I do like their top. And then in terms of my last one, I had Arizona State's home jerseys because I like a pullover every once in a while, and I like the piping that they have going around, and I just feel like the colors and everything, it kind of gives me like some like 80s vibes, which I like a lot.
I'll add two more. Stanford's like reddish one with just white pants, I think is a very classic look. It looks good. And then Florida State's all gold. Are
nice.
Awesome. I love those. I love that uniform combo as well.
They have great colors.
It's loud and make a statement, but it's not like off the charts. It's like kind of cream, but then it's just that light gold. I think it looks really, really good.
Absolutely. All right. Should I hit you guys with some names that I liked, and we can call it after that?
Yes, hit me with some good names. What do you got? Because I got one name that jumped out to me, and it's unbelievable. It might be one of the best ever.
I've got Jack Dragum. We can let that one sink in for a second. He plays at Charlotte. Then we've got Mason Minzy at Ohio. Great name. Jonathan Cannon, which is a great name for a pitcher. He's at Georgia. South Trimble at George Mason, which is an interesting one. Rocco Pepe, kind of like a mob boss at LBS at Long Beach State.
He was a long guy, right? I remember him.
Yeah, Long Beach State, Rocco Pepe. Kentucky player named Hunter Jump. It's kind of he's got an athletic name, but I don't know how he is as a player. Caleb Ketchup at Lipscomb.
Ooh.
And then shout out to Connecticut and the Red Sox, Matt Barnes from NIU, Northern Illinois.
There you go.
Yeah. That's what I've got. Mark, what's your one?
Oh, my one name, it's Hawaii Scotty Scott.
Oh,
I mean, that right there, that is a legendary baseball name. Like I honestly don't know much about him as a player, but Scotty Scott right there, you got a fan in Mark Luino here.
I think he made that. I think you commented on a diving catch. You said that the Hawaii uniforms looked like the Miamis. I think that was Scotty Scott who made the catch.
That's all I need to know. I'm all in on Scotty Scott.
Brent, any names that stick in your mind as like funny or interesting or?
Man, not to stand out. I mean,
I know we're putting you on the spot, but
yeah, I need some time to prepare for the second. I could have come up with some. We had Mississippi State's got some good names. We had Rowdy last year. It's a good name. Mississippi State has a very Southern thing where they have a lot of like double first names. I think that's a big Southern thing that we have going on, but I can't think of any. I don't know why this is so. Can we play from UMass Lowell? I don't know. Did you ever play Lowell?
No, but I know some of the guys who play there.
Steve Passatempo.
I played against him many times growing up.
One, I love his last name. I thought it was awesome. And two, he was the biggest character like I ever played against. Just like the tightest possible sleeve, the tightest possible. Like walked around like he was just a bodybuilder playing baseball. I mean, he was pretty good. He could hit. And I staying in contact with him for like a few years after we played him, but his name always stands out to me for whatever reason.
I mean, growing up, I played for an AAU team called Nakona, and our like rival team, this is like 13, 14U. Our rival team was Steve Passatempo's team. And so we played them a number of times in big games. And I mean, the kid had he'd stand both feet together and then he'd just launch at the baseball, and it was unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
So shout out to Steve Passatempo. That's a name I have not heard in a long time. That's awesome. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap. That's an awesome episode. Brent, we really, really appreciate it. This was great. And you gave us some really awesome insight. And I think people are going to be really excited to listen to this episode.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. I had a blast. Appreciate it.
Open invite anytime you want to come on. Once again.
Sure.
Yeah. Sweet. Once again, you can follow us at Rally Caps Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Keep an eye out for the YouTube channel that we will be launching hopefully this week. And then we'll be announcing our next week's guest. It's a good one. And yeah, you can follow us individually. I'm at Ben13Porter on Twitter and Instagram. Mark.
At Giraffe Neck Mark with a C.
Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. And Brent Rooker. I think it's Brent Rooker _19. Does that sound right?
Brent _Rooker 19.
_Rooker 19. You look up Brent Rooker, you see the verified guy, and he's the one you want to follow. So thank you, everybody. And we appreciate you listening, and we will see you next week.
See you next time.
Thanks, guys.